Okay, so on the post on the TEEP forum, the DAF man had mentioned to me that there may be some problems with running the wire through the plastic in the manner that I have, in that it may scrape some of the finish off of the coating of the wires. And looking at that and evaluating that, the different types of plastic that are out there and the different variances, I would totally agree with that. So I'm going to redesign the wire straightener just a little bit. We're going to consist of 3 pieces of plastic here, 3 tubings, the Forstner bit to cut a hole. We're going to use some other acrylic that's here, and we're also going to use another smaller piece of acrylic, and then we're going to use some felt. And once this is all built, I'll show you exactly how it all goes together, and I'll show you step by step. Okay, so our first step is to set the height of the hole. I'm going to get down here so that you can see that. We're not going quite all the way through our material, and I've set a stop up so that it won't go any further. And on all drill presses, you'll notice over here on the side, you'll see an indicator gauge. And if you see as that comes around, there's a little lock bolt on there, and that will set the stop up for your drill press, so that you'll always know that that's going to be the exact depth of your hole. Okay, so you notice our configuration of our holes. We have one that's going to be here, one that's going to be here, and one that's going to be here. And I'll show you how to feed the wire through once we get it all put together and why they're set the way they are. You'll notice that I have 2 of them that's called booking, and so this side is the exact identical as this side. And so that makes it very easy for you to drill the holes. So from this material here that you can see is where I'm going to cut out to make sure that each side is exactly the same size. And we'll go ahead and drill those holes now. Okay, so that's our first step, and as you can see, the holes don't go all the way through the material. We're just barely peeking through the back, and that's where we're going to put some screws just for alignment. And then each piece of pipe is going to go inside and will spin freely inside of each one of these sections. So that's how the pipe will go in. It's just okay. So our next step is going to be cutting these apart, which I've already done. So we have our base and we have our 2 ends. And how that's exactly going to work is we have our pipe that fits down inside of our holes, and those are free enough so that they're going to actually turn when we wrap our wire through, if for some reason there's too much tension. So we'll have our top and we'll have our bottom, and those will sit just like this. And then those will get glued to our base, and then our base will be screwed down to our platform for our wire coil machine. And from this point here, our next step is going to be to peel off the paper. Now, a really good step to peeling off paper, if it's been stuck on the plastic for a while, or if it's hard coming off, is to just slightly heat it with a hair dryer or a heat gun. Not enough to really heat up the plastic, just enough to take the coldness off the paper, and it'll peel right off. If you have any residues left, you can use a product called Goo Gone, and that will take off the residues that's left. So I'm going to get these all ready for our next step. Okay, so what I did was I took the plastic off and then glued on the first side, as you can see. And a good way that you can tell a good glue joint is on your acrylic. It's going to be clear all the way across, if it's a clear piece of acrylic and you can see the glue joint. And how I glued that is, you can use a multitude of different glues. My favorites is Weld-On 3, Weld-On 4, Weld-On 40, and Weld-On 16. So that's my favorite glues. And I'll go ahead and show you how we're going to glue on this section. And what we're going to do is we're going to insert our PVC into our sections, and then we're going to attach this side onto those. And we're going to first put our glue down, and then we'll go ahead and attach these. Okay, so I've put a thin bead of glue down on the edge, as you can see, and then we're going to align our PVC in, taking care not to set this down on our plastic just yet. And then once we get it down, we're going to move it back and forth just slightly, and we're going to set it. Now I have this set so that it's about a ½ inch from each side. And once we get that set, the weld-on 16 that I'm using, and I'll show you that here, it's a weld-on 16 product, and this gives you a lot longer work time. When you're working with a product like this, that you want to make sure that everything is going to spin freely inside of your unit, you want to be able to work with this plastic just a little bit longer than what you would typically. And so that's going to be the way that we can work with it, and so we can get this gap just right so that everything is spinning just so. And I like where we're at right now. And as you can see, all of these turn really, really well. So from a side profile, you'll be able to see that that's our 3. So how we're going to feed our wire is up over the top, around the bottom, and up over the top of our 3rd one. And I'll show you that once we get it installed.